What's up, guys, and welcome back from the break. Today we are going to start begin Unit 8, and this entire third quarter has to do with statistic type of stuff. This will be a project unit, and so without further ado, today we're going to talk about just kind of like an intro to statistics, what it is, how we can use it, how it applies in the real world, things like that. So, for starters, just the definition of statistics, it's just the science of collecting, organizing, and analyzing and interpreting data. And when we say data, we're talking about facts, a collection of facts, numbers, or information that we gather together through observations or surveys, experiments, or measurements. Statistics is applied in various professions and has many real world applications, which I'll kind of talk about real quick. And I'm not going to read through all of these, but just so you kind of have an idea, like where is statistics used at outside of like math class. I mean, it's a we can use it in medicine and healthcare, like with clinical trials, with disease outbreak analysis, such as when COVID hit, medical imaging, things like that. It's also used in business and finance for market research, portfolio management, and risk analysis. We also see statistics involved in environmental science and conservation with climate modeling, wildlife conservation, and water quality monitoring. And these are just some of the ways. Social sciences and policies, of course, we have elections and voting, census and demographic analysis, and social media analysis. On the topic of technology and engineering, quality control, predictive maintenance, and traffic flow analysis, to name some. And then sports and entertainment, we have sports analytics, box office analysis, and social media trends. So these are just some ways that statistics is used in the real world. I do not know why I have this slide on there twice, but this is just some places outside of a math classroom in college where statistics is used. And so there's quite a few there, right? And statistics is math, and we often get confused. When am I going to use this? Well, if you go into one of these fields, at least with statistics, you may use it. Some notable examples of real-world statistics in action. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention using statistical modeling to track and contain disease outbreaks. The Federal Reserve using statistical analysis to inform monetary policy decisions. And then Google using machine learning and statistics to improve search results and recommend content. NASA uses statistical models to predict asteroid orbits and trajectories. The NFL uses advanced statistics to optimize player and team performance. So, once again, going back and collecting data, analyzing it, organizing it, interpreting it, summarizing it, all of those things. As we can imagine, statistics often involves analyzing different types of data. Today, we're going to talk about the two different types of data, categorical and quantitative. But for this unit, we're going to focus primarily on the categorical piece. So categorical variables, what that means is it represents categories or groups, and these variables can be divided into two different parts. We have nominal, which would be categories without meaningful order. So for example, like colors, those would be category. Like if I ask, what is your favorite color? Blue, red, green. It doesn't matter what order I write those in. Red, green, blue is the same thing. There's nothing meaningful about that. What type of pet do you have? Dog, cat, fish, or fish, cat, dog, or fish, dog, cat? Like none of those, it doesn't really matter. And the word nominal, I don't really care about that, but just so you can kind of see if you see this in the future. Another type of categorical variable is ordinal, and that is when we have meaningful order but unknown intervals between categories, like education level, high school, bachelor's, master's, right? You complete those in a specific order. A satisfaction rating, unsatisfied, neutral, or satisfied. Quantitative variables, we're going to talk about next unit, and we'll do a project over that. But just so we can kind of understand what that is, these are our numerical type of data values that we look at. So they represent measurable quantities and are typically divided into two different groups. One of them called discrete, and the other called not quantitative, discrete and continuous. Discrete is where you can count those things. Discrete are the countable type of things, like number of kids in a class. You can actually go through and count those, number of cars in a parking lot, etc. Continuous quantitative data measures values that can take any value within a given range, and they're measurable, like the heights of students, right? That is not countable, that's measurable. They're measurable values. So one's countable values, the other one's measurable values. Temperature, it's a measurement, right? So those are the different types of quantitative data. So looking at some statistical vocabulary, when we talk about a population and we talk about collecting data, the population is the group that we want to draw conclusions about. So if I were to say something like, well, I'll come back to this question here in a second. But if I were to wanting to know the heights of males, right? The average heights of males, my population would be all males. And if I specify that to population of all males 3 years old, then my population would be all boys that are 3 years old. So, by population, I mean everybody in the world that fits that population. But it's impossible to collect data on most of that stuff for an entire population. So we'll talk about what do we do instead. Here's my example. So what's your favorite color? If I ask this question, my population would be anyone, because there's nothing specific like heights of males. So I'm not looking for just males only. Like I can have women and men, anybody that can understand what I'm saying. The entire human population, I can gather data from. Do women really prefer colors such as pink and purple over other colors? Well, here my population does not include men at all because it's specific towards women. So every single woman on the planet. The average heights of men 18 years and older, that would be specific towards men, not women. So my population would include only men. But keep in mind, it's every single man. You have to think about what it is you're asking. So it's unrealistic to think that we can collect data from every single person in the entire world. So we collect a sample to represent the population. And the sample is a subset of the population used to gather data. So for instance, maybe I might want to know the average heights of like high school males. Well, that would include every single high school male on the planet. That's my population, but I can't collect data for all those people because that would be impossible. So what I could do though is I can collect a random sample, or I can collect a sample at Byron Nelson because it's convenient to me. So I can do that and then use that data to represent the population. So what's your favorite color? We can collect a sample anywhere and anyone, this class, the mall, social media, as long as it's a sample of the population, which is anyone and everyone in this case. Do women really prefer pink and purple over other colors? My population was all women, but we can collect the sample anywhere, but it can only be from women because that is our population. I can ask, and I should say ask, not as. I can ask my mom, grandma, teacher, a random woman on the street, neighbor, etc. And that would be part of my sample. The average heights of men 18 and older, we can collect a sample anywhere, but we can only collect data from men 18 years and older because that's what my topic's about. So my sample needs to fit that. It makes no sense to include your little sister with this topic, obviously. So there are various ways to collect a sample, which we will discuss in later units, but collecting random samples is always the best as it gives you better, more reliable data. And sample size that we're going to talk about refers to the number of individuals observed or data points collected. So how many data values did you get? And that is all we have on Introduction to Statistics, and we'll get into more of it tomorrow.